Welcome back in. Inside the Game, episode 209, Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky. And Ryan, what's up? Anyways, continuing. You know what? So I was thinking about this coming into the show today because I was looking at, by the way, follow us on social media at National Soccer Network. You know the drill. You can find us on any social media platform. We are live 9 to 11, Monday through Friday here on Inside the Game, the podcast. Hour one, our soccer portion of our show, or football, as we are reminded emphatically day after day that it is called. And we are so arrogant and stupid for calling it soccer. Which, speaking on that, so thinking a lot about this yesterday. Your experience in life shapes the way that you look at the world. Like, even specifically when it comes to sports, right? If you are born in a certain area of the world, what you experience is what you believe to be true. If you were to ask a kid from Alabama who's an Auburn fan, who's the most obnoxious fan base you've ever met in your life, it would be Alabama. Maybe. I don't know if they were originally from Ohio. I have no idea. But, or, you know, if you were to ask someone, you know, let's say from California, who's the most obnoxious fan base? Probably State. USC or UCLA or Ohio State. They're probably a close second on that list. If you were to ask someone from Michigan, it would be
Michigan State.
You're on one today.
Ohio State.
But growing up for me, right, in my limited experience of the world and my lack of access to social media or anything else outside of what my immediate circle was, like just going to school as this young middle school age kid, Notre Dame fans were the most obnoxious people on the planet. I could not stand Notre Dame fans, mostly because for a couple reasons, right? I went to Catholic schools growing up, so naturally you're going to have a lot of Notre Dame fans. Also, the area of the country that we're in. We're only a 2-hour drive from South Bend, right? So that's, beautiful, I mean, essentially that's. Oh, love it. Yeah. Oh, Notre Dame's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Last time I was there, we were actually taking wedding pictures, and they actually walked a couple of football recruits by us.
Oh, nice.
And so they were going to look at the grotto, and so I walked up and I was just talking to him, and one of the recruits' dads said that I looked like a leprechaun, and then I laughed, and then he's like, "You sound like a leprechaun too." And I'm like, "All right." I'm like, I am not promoting Notre Dame here. I'm actually coming over here to tell you that there's another school in Ann Arbor that you should probably consider before you come here. And they're like, and then I walked away. But anyway,
won a national championship recently.
Right. I just wanted to mix it up a little bit, you know, and I could tell the person doing the tours was like, okay, go away now. You know, we don't need you. So anyways, but Notre Dame fans were the most obnoxious people of all time because I was surrounded by more of them. Like, there were just more ND fans all around me. So naturally, I was not exposed to anything else, right? I get a little bit older. I get on Twitter. All of a sudden, I start to realize just how obnoxious Ohio State fans are, the SEC. Like, you start to kind of get a look at, okay, like on a larger scale, like these people are nuts. Notre Dame fans are actually pretty tame compared to the rest of college football and even down south. But one thing I've never experienced, or at least not to the same extent as I have since coming on to this show and working for the National Soccer Network, I really shouldn't talk all that bad about SEC fans anymore, because SEC fans don't come after your intelligence a lot of times. SEC fans are just going to be arrogant and tell you that, hey, we're the best ever. European soccer fans might be the most obnoxious the earth has to offer in terms of sports fans towards Americans. And the reason why I know this is because we were reading through some of our YouTube comments yesterday on our video talking about how there's a bias in soccer across in Europe for American soccer players. An example like Weston McKennie, who has to battle for a spot every single year despite being arguably the best player on Juventus year after year. And let's just say that did not sit well with the international YouTube football consuming community. Because my goodness gracious, yeah, I gotta give a shout out to TikTok. At least TikTok tries to bury some of those comments a little bit.
They do.
YouTube's just like, here's what this guy said about you. Have fun. And one of the comments, I believe, the guy was trying to shut our page down because he didn't like our take about
Oh yeah, we got reported a couple times technically. Yeah.
against American soccer players, which is just wild. But calling us ignorant and stupid and dumb. So welcome back to the It's Called Soccer podcast. We're actually formally changing the name of the show today. It's called Soccer. We're going to prove in 2026 why it's called soccer. Right, Ryan Glinsky? It's the confidence we're going with right now.
If that happens, the world will not know what to do with themselves. They will.
That's what I'm saying.
They won't know what to do. And I will say, I met a couple of my dad's coworkers that are European soccer fans, and they're pretty cool with Americans, I guess, when it comes to soccer. Like, they're pretty cool with it. Like, they're all Spaniards and stuff, and they're all pretty cool. A couple of them own some teams over there, so they're all pretty cool with it. But for some reason, yesterday just was, I don't know what we said that really just pissed them all off. I mean, if the moment Christian Pulisic scores like game-winning goal against like a European side in the knockouts and lifts his shirt up and that reads "It's called soccer," I think the world will end. Like I really do. Like we all talk about all these like different ways the world's gonna end. I think the number one way the world ends is if America becomes really good at the men's side, if America becomes really good at soccer and wins the World Cup. I genuinely think that's how the world ends. Because
World
the
War
Europeans
II,
won't know what to do. Because if you think about it, obviously we own American football, like no one ever comes close to it. We obviously own basketball. Baseball and hockey are a little different. Canada kind of owns hockey, and I feel like Japan has got to own baseball, right? Like they're just robots over there. Like they're just not true. They're not real. And then soccer, like that's the only thing the world had. Like if you look at every sport in the world, major sport, the U.S. is in the top 3 or top 5 of every single thing, of every category. But you look at soccer, and they're nowhere close. Like they're 20th, maybe 15 at tops. Like that's about it. But at the moment we conquer that and constantly get in the conversation of we're in the World Cup, oh God, they'll invent another sport. They'll invent another sport that we're not good at. Like I don't know how we are in the world of like rugby or cricket, but yeah, we outside of soccer, once we conquer that, the world's gonna end.
Rugby we ain't there. I mean, women's rugby is getting there. I mean, obviously with them winning a medal at the last Olympics, and clearly the USA starting to catch up on the women's side. I don't know about the men's side nearly as much, but. What I will say is that the number one indication of you being guilty of doing something is if I bring it up and your first reaction is a visceral one and you're going to start yelling at me and insulting our intelligence. I'm pretty sure you're guilty of whatever it is I just accused you of. And everything we just accused them of, they are guilty of. Everybody in that comment section is guilty of it, because if you weren't, you wouldn't have felt the need to say what you were saying in calling us all these things. That's the funniest thing to me. And remember what I said in that. I think I said it in that clip. And maybe not. I don't know if you included this part in it. And I talked about how it's not that the bias exists. It's that they're scared to admit it. They don't want to admit it. They're afraid that again, we're going to do exactly that. All right. World War II started because there was a power hungry country that wanted to take over the world. And World War III is going to start because there's a power hungry soccer nation that's going to take over the World Cup. And then no one's gonna know how to handle themselves.
And who saves them in all these wars? Just put it out there, Europe. Who saves you? Who saves you in all of them? I'm not arguing. I'm just not gonna argue history on this one.
Hey,
but
reading the Soviets played their part, but they ain't too good. They ain't too good at soccer. Russia, that is.
Like I just keep looking at these comments, and it's all about why are Americans like this? Why do you call it soccer? You have to call it football. Like. I don't care what it's called. Like I'm sure you guys call our sports different things. And also like obviously I'm not saying the US is close to winning a World Cup because we're not. Like I'm not saying that. But this has got to be like the closest we've ever been, right? Like in terms of the amount of players playing over in Europe, like I'm measuring this based off how many players are playing in the top leagues over in Europe. How many are actually integral parts of their teams? Like you look at Pulisic, he's an integral part of AC Milan. You look at a guy like Malik Tillman, who Bayer Leverkusen spent $40 million on. You think of Weston McKennie, who is an integral part of Juventus, or at least we thought, and he thought, but he's actually being approached by 2 Premier League clubs at the moment. You think of a Tyler Adams, who was, again, integral part of Bournemouth, but he's hurt at the moment. You think of Chris Richards with Crystal Palace. Like, you think of all these different players that are important pieces of their European sides. Like Joe Scally's starting to get back up there for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He had a good performance this past weekend. So you just think of it, and I just think of, like, okay, you can send an American over there, but if he just rides the bench, plays in a couple of games here and there, I don't really see that as moving the needle. That's just me personally. But the fact that these players are making some strides over there and actually playing meaningful games, Tim Way is another one I didn't mention, then obviously I see something going on. Like, obviously something's changing, and this has got to be the again, I could be wrong from something back in the early 2000s or the 90s or something. We were close in a year or something, but to me, this feels like this is the closest America has ever been to eventually winning a World Cup, just based on the amount of players that are over there and actually making strides and actually playing games. Like, like how many times, like, we just talked about him. Mateus Albert, we talked about it a couple months ago how well he was doing in one of the Youth World Cups. He's actually on pace to make his debut for Dortmund this year, and the kid's like 17 years old. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, that doesn't happen often. And again, it's another American making strides, but I digress.
No, and like the biggest point in all of this is that imagine the pressure that the players feel over there. I mean, that has to be so immense for them playing in that environment. And the truth is that if you produce, they love you. If you don't, they don't. And Brendan Aronson I think is a perfect example of that. He was someone that was absolutely buried in the Premier League just over 40 matches into his career there. But now that he's picked things up, I mean, they love the kid. You know, they're chanting American boy. I mean, they've completely turned and changed their tone on Brendan Aronson. But if there's one comment in that comment section that I actually looked like, and I was like, you know what, that guy has a point. Everybody else in here calling us ignorant and arrogant, and you know, and all these things. Again, I find it funny. I think it's great, and also because I don't think these bozos realize that the more they comment, the more they're actually like feeding our video to the algorithm. So it's like. It's like, thanks, boys. We appreciate you. Even the hate, you know, like, hey, I just reported your channel. It's like, well, you tried to tear us down, but you actually built us up at the same time. So that's why I never really find any of that stuff. Like, and when you grow up with a dad who has a dry, sarcastic sense of humor, you trust me, the rage baiting really doesn't get to you nearly as much.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that there was one comment in there that I was like, okay, that guy is actually onto something. He was like, if this is the case, he goes, then win something of significance. Or STFU, or STFU. Now, you didn't have to say that last part, all right? We can be respectful about this, all right? Don't tell me what to do. But the first part about win something of significance is absolutely true. Like, I get it, man. Like, we can't hang our hats on gold cups. No one cares. Anything within CONCACAF, I've said this before, it's built for the United States to succeed. All of that is built for the U.S. to succeed. Either us, Mexico, maybe Canada once in a blue moon. But outside of that, I mean, you have to prove that you can win something of significance. I understand that. I get that 100%. So again, that's why the 26 World Cup means as much as it does. That's why the eyeballs of the world, or not the world, really the United States is going to be squarely on Mauricio Pochettino and how this team looks. And that transitions us actually perfectly into our opening point here for our number one on Inside the Game. We're going to talk a little bit coming up on the other side. Let's take a quick break, but on the other end, we'll talk about our projected 11, where it was actually one that was released yesterday. Doug McKinstry released his starting 11. Reacting to a starting 11 for the U.S. men's national team. Okay, not our list, but he's reacting to one. We'll react to his reaction on the other side of this break here on Inside the Game. Back live on Inside the Game, episode 209, as we get ready to cap off the week here on Friday. Welcome back in, everybody viewing us. Hey, we got record numbers coming in terms of our viewers on our podcast. Continue to go up and up. Woo!
Woo!
And we
Ric Flair,
we appreciate.
woo!
Woo!
Just like any Red Wings game, you hear that.
It's the greatest. Or either that or the Freddie Mercury, the little what is he, a gopher or groundhog? Groundhog when he's doing like the hey-oh. And everybody responds to it. Yeah, that's Freddie from Live Aid. Have you ever seen Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie?
Parts of it. I didn't think it was that good.
You didn't like it
I'm
very
not a
much.
Queen
All right.
fan, if I'm being honest. I don't like them.
Not a Queen guy?
No.
Interesting.
That's what
I'm obsessed. They're one of my faves.
I could tell when you thought Freddie Mercury was this great singer.
Oh, he's the greatest of all time. Vocally speaking, he's the greatest. My man had 4 extra teeth.
Smokey, better. There you go.
No, Frank is
Even
not.
Whitney Houston was a better singer.
From a voice perspective, Frank is
drugs.
not. Well, yeah, that's true. Whitney was great. No, yeah, no disrespect to Whitney Houston. I think she had the greatest national anthem of all time. People want to talk about Chris Stapleton. No, Whitney Houston and everybody else.
She changed how people sang the national anthem. So
yes,
yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah.
By virtue of that, I would say yes.
Yes. Absolutely. So no, that is no disrespect at all to Whitney, but no, from a pure vocal perspective, and we can get away from music here. I know we got stuff to talk about. I just think Freddie's the great. I don't think anybody's had range like Freddie. But anyways, getting into our conversation here, let's take a look at our reaction from Doug McKinstry to a projected U.S. men's national team starting 11. We're going to see a lot more of these as we get closer to the World Cup. There's a look at it. So we got Flo Balogun.
You mean Balogun?
McKinney, Ballistic.
Balogun?
Balogun FC, if you will. A 4-2-3-1 for Balogun FC. Tessman and Adams in the middle. Then a backline Jedi, Ream, Richards, Freeman. And then I believe that is Freeze at the bottom there. Hold on, I got my control bar at the bottom. Yep, Matt Freeze at the bottom. So I like it. Obviously, this was the formation that they kind of changed to, I believe, in the Japan game. They kind of switched to a 4-2-3-1, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. They did not. What did they run against Japan?
A 3-4-3. This is horrible.
Oh, 3-4-3.
This is a horrible
so that's something completely different than what they were doing it.
This,
what parts do you disagree with on this? I'll leave the floor to you to start off.
A lot of it. So first off,
feel free to explain.
Goalie's fine. Matt Freese is fine.
I like Matt. Yep.
Balogun up top's fine. But first off, we got to put Chris Richards as a middle back, as the kids say.
Yeah.
As the kids say. First off, you got to put Chris Richards in there at center back. You got to switch to a back three. Like we saw that you could call it a 5-3. You could I would say 3-4-3. That's the formation they got to run with, and you got to put Richards in the middle there. You got to put Tim Ream on the left side of that back three. And then you could put a guy in the right, which, again, everyone kind of thought it could be Carter Vickers, but he's hurt at the moment. You could put a Miles Robinson in that spot. Again, it doesn't really matter who that one on the right side is. But you got to put Jedi on the left side as a left wing back. You got to put Serginho Dest on the right side as a right wing back. I think that's the way you got to go. And then from there, you could go – because it's more of being like a 5 at the back there. But – you could go then Adams and McKinney in the middle. Like I think Tanner Tessman's really good, but I think he's a bench player at this point. I think he's really good at seeing a game out. So that puts me at what? 1, 6, 8, and then you got to put Balogun up top, and then you got to put Pulisic on the left. And honestly, you could put Tim Weah, though, on the right wing back, too. So, again, you got to put Pulisic on the left, and I think you could interchange who's on the right side because Gio Reyna's played really well there. You could put a Tim Weah out there. We see Serginho Dest in this spot as a right winger. You could also put a Malik Tillman. But, yeah, you have to have 3 at the back and 2 wing backs with this men's national team. Like, there's no way. There's no way that you can't. Just looking at, I'll look at how they shaped up against Japan, but no, you have to have 3 at the back with the U.S. Like, there's no way that you can't. There's no way this thing works. There's no way in the history of the men's national team where we've had 4 at the back and it's worked. There's no way. So you have to have 3 at the back. That's just the way that you have to play, and that's the way you got to set yourself up. Doug, horrible list.
What is it? What is it about playing that way that you think would not work out well for the U.S. men's national team, having 4 at the back as opposed to 3 at the
Well,
back?
well. First off, I would say if you have Tim Ream out there, that adds cover at three at the back.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's true.
Tim Ream is Tim Ream is old. His legs aren't quite there anymore. And
Yeah,
having that cover there, because you could have a CDM cover, you could have a Tyler Adams or a Weston McKennie cover a little bit, and then on that left side you could have a Jedi cover him as well. I think that helps it. It also helps with the flanks. We can't really build through the middle. The U.S. cannot build through the middle. We've seen it. We've tried playing out of the back and trying to build up the field. It just can't. Obviously, that's the way you want us to play, but we can't do it. So you build up through the flanks. And who's our best player? Pulisic. He's on the flanks. He's one of he's our best player, and he's one of
yeah,
you got to get him the ball. I personally think Pulisic should play as a number 10. I really do, but obviously that's not going to
yeah.
happen. Pochettino would disagree with it, but no, I think you have to play a 3 at the back. You just have to. That gives us a little bit more control, and we're excuse me, we're a little bit vulnerable in a counterattack, and that can obviously help us as well with having 3 at the back there too. So yeah,
Well,
that's
in
what
this
you basically gotta
position,
do.
does this allow Jedi in the spot that he would be in that formation? Does that even allow him to really get forward
Yeah,
at all?
it does.
It does.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
does
so I mean,
because he uses the flanks to his advantage, and
yeah,
having
it's true.
three at the back there compared to 4.
You're
So
talking about the way you want to play allows him to play forward, not the one that the projected lineup that we just put on our screen with.
yeah, no, this would not allow.
Yeah,
See,
because that's the biggest problem in my mind. I mean, I want Jedi to be able to improvise and create plays from that wingback position. So like it would be really hard for me to justify this because he is such a playmaker. Um, from that perspective, that's why I think something like this would be troubling. But like you're right, like the parts that I agree with, like having Flo up top is I think that's the way to go. I think Matt Freese has proven that he's the number 1 goaltender. But no, from everything you're saying, that was just my main question is I think we need Richards farther forward, but I think we need to give ourselves something to where Jedi can also get forward and improvise and create for this U.S. men's national team. So to your perspective, from that point of view, I can see what you're saying for
to your
sure.
point, we don't need Richards to get further up the field. We just need him to stay rock solid in the middle there, and the other two
Well,
center
yeah, in the
backs.
middle, right? That's exactly.
But
But
no, Jedi.
from
This
where he
allows
is,
everything. So if
yeah,
we're looking at this, if we were allowed Jedi to play the Jedi way, I guess if you want to say that in this formation,
to use the force.
if we're allowing Jedi to use the Force here and get up constantly up the field and all that and joining the attack, that allows us to be a little bit more vulnerable. And then there's just 3 at the back there, compared to where you could have 4 because Jedi would get up the field and then you could invert it that way as they kind of move over to the left there. And there's no cover for Tim Ream. But if you put Jedi up the field there as he's a little bit higher up the field, he's able to get up the field and create a little bit more, add an extra number in the midfield. But the way that obviously I would love for us to play, we can't do. We can't do it that
Yeah.
way because if we try to play that way, we're going to give up a lot of silly mistakes and a lot of silly goals and a lot of chances that, we could have avoided ourselves if we just, because we can't play that way. We got to call it how it is. The U.S. cannot play the way that the rest of the world wants to play, and it just can't happen. And you have to have a 3-4-3, and this is the formation where everything's I felt like kind of changed for the USA, which was Tim Ream on the left side of the back 3 with Richards in the middle. Tristan Black, I totally forgot about him. He was pretty good. He's potentially on the move. Noah Kai Banks was the player I was thinking of. I really like that kid. Roldan and Adams were as the double pivot, and Arfstead and Freeman were on the outside there. And then the front 3 was Pulisic on the left, Balogun, and then Zadejas, who obviously scored a goal in that game. But yeah, that's the way you got to set it up. But yeah, no, you have to have a 3 at the back with the USA. It's just the only way that has to happen.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the actual players that are on the field, I mean, would you take anyone off and add anybody else in? Or are you just talking about shifting people around that are on the field? Because in terms of the player, like the personnel itself, I like the names that we have on there. I mean, obviously Tim Ream is old, but you talk about, obviously someone that's a captain, that's a vet, that's a leader in the clubhouse. I wouldn't mind having him out there. I like Freeman. I think Tessman. McKinney. I mean, obviously Dest, Jedi. As long as he can stay healthy, obviously that's been the chief concern when it comes to Jedi this year. But in terms of personnel itself, do you like at least the 11 names that you see in front of you?
I would like a majority of them, I would say. I like Freese, I like
Okay.
Jedi, I like Ream, I like Richards. Freeman's fine. Again, I was the one who said that Tessman should be on the roster, like he should be on the roster, but he's not a starter. I would move
Yeah.
McKinney down with Adams, and Dest I'm fine with, but I think you could also plug in a Malik to it. I would say for the majority, I'm pretty happy with the names that are out there, but I would not have Tessman. I don't even know if I would have Freeman start, to be quite honest with you. Like, again, I really like this Noah Kai Banks kid. Like, I get it. He's 19. He'll be 19 during the World Cup. But there's something to be said about him starting 12 matches and playing the full 90 in a majority of these matches for a Bundesliga side in Augsburg at that young of an age. Like, at that point, you mature at some point. Like, it doesn't matter at age at that point, but when you have that many minutes under your belt, at some point that matters regardless of your age. But I would say a majority of these players, I really like what the names out there. I would drop a Testman, to be honest with you. I would drop a Freeman. I'd add somebody like a Noah Kai Banks. I would add somebody like a Malik Tillman, a Tim Weah in these spots. But for the most part, I like the names.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I mean I that's what I think too. So I mean from a 11 names on the list perspective in terms that from that side of things, I really do. I mean I think that it's a solid list.
I would say
obviously
8 of
now
the names I'm happy with.
eight of the names you're happy with.
8
Okay.
or 9.
All right.
8 of the 9.
That's fair. The upcoming months are going to be absolutely wild in terms of who our 11s are and who people are projecting to be on the field. I know I was looking at another list a little bit earlier. I think Alexi Lawless also just released a list, which I'm sure people just had a field day with because they just don't respect what Alexi Lawless has to say.
If you want, next week we could make our own. Nate and I's own.
Yeah.
We'll make our own. We'll make our own formation. We'll put it up at some point next week. Maybe like a Tuesday, because we obviously have the NFL playoffs this weekend. We like to get that. Maybe like a Tuesday or a Wednesday regarding like some crazy news. But yeah, for the soccer part, yeah, I think we could do that next week. Make our own. Make a nice little graphic out there.
So, still waiting on those boys to get back to action, but obviously now that we're into January, things are ramping back up again. So we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, I'm getting sick and tired of looking at these international rundowns and giving individual updates. I just want to see how they all look together as we get ready for the World Cup coming up in the summer. But speaking of the World Cup, you know, I know we complain about ticket prices a lot on this show, and I know that the common man loves to talk about ticket prices because it just feels like sometimes you're yelling into the void, right? Like no one can. It doesn't matter what you say, it's not going to change. The truth is that they're going to stay the way that they are. Now, FIFA is willing to bend ever so slightly and offer 1,000 tickets for what, $60 a pop in 80,000 seat stadiums or whatever it is.
The worst part.
Appreciate you, I guess. But outside of that, we know that this is getting ridiculous. And for the majority of soccer fans, true soccer fans, you know, the whole saying, it was, you know, created by the poor, stolen by the rich. Some of the most passionate fans who would love to go see World Cup games, especially in our communities, probably cannot afford these tickets. Tim Weah actually had something to say about that. We're also going to chat about how Weston McKennie. Oh no, sorry. I was giving a preview here. I was going to cut to break really quick, but when we come back, let's talk a little bit about what Tim Weah had to say about ticket prices. It's ridiculous here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play,
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
and start watching today.
And we roll along. Episode 209 on Inside the Game. Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky. Well, not producer, but he's in the building. Jonathan Turner's back there somewhere making calls, trying to set up our business, pitching us to the people, if you will, here on the National Soccer Network. We got a busy schedule coming up, a lot of arena soccer. So, again, keep it locked here on the network. And obviously us, your two favorite hosts in the entire world that you listen to yap every single morning. Except in Europe. Anywhere else outside of the continental United States. Even some people in the United States probably don't even like us. So, that's but hey, the mark of a good host is not being liked by a good portion of your audience. Okay, so that's just kind of a part of it. So we appreciate anybody. Hate viewers or love viewing us, either way, cool with us. Let's get on to this next point, though, that we have here in our first hour. Tim Weah, who obviously is part of those conversations for the U.S. men's national team, is talking a little bit about ticket prices. It's too expensive. Football should be enjoyed by everyone. It's the most popular sport. He's not wrong there. The World Cup will be good, but it will be more of a show. And I'm gonna complete that thought. It will be more of a show, and it'll be less authentic because it's being played in the United States.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are going to get the rock concert vibe. We already talked about the musical performances. We already talked about the other things that they have planned, right? This carnival style, just this show, this rock concert that you're going to get if you end up going to the World Cup, right? It's going to be a whole thing in and around it. It's going to be big, and they're going to do everything they can to get the money out of you, whether that be merchandise, whether that be live music, whether that be food, whether that be gas, whether that be hotel. I mean, you name it. Maybe a parking ticket because you weren't in the right place.
Makes
Either
sense.
way, here's my biggest conflict when it comes to the World Cup, and specifically when it comes ticket prices are ungodly expensive. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, we don't have to go back and debate left and right and up and down about this. That is just a fact. I also saw that I think it was 16% of American consumers who have purchased World Cup tickets are now canceling their tickets and looking for refunds. So for whatever that's worth, a 16% is not a small percentage. That is, and I don't know what that's attributed to. It could be attributed to a lot of things. But the biggest problem for me, and to this point, I can sympathize and empathize with European fans when they look at the game here. That's exactly what it's going to be, is the authenticity of the sport is not really going to be taken into consideration because it's being played here in the United States. It is wild when you're in England, and again, you look at these stadiums that are just literally plopped in the middle of neighborhoods. Some of these clubs, some of these teams just play in the middle of neighborhoods, and everybody from the neighborhood, they come out and they watch them, and they're passionate, and they fill out the stands for every single game. And that is the thing about the culture of soccer, and it used to be this way with baseball too. I mean, why do you think some of the oldest baseball stadiums in the United States are in the middle of neighborhoods? Think of Wrigley. When it was built in 1912. Think of Fenway. Fenway's the exact same way, plopped right in the middle of a neighborhood. In Europe, the football culture is exactly that. Not even that. Brazil, too, and in Central America, all these other places. Everywhere. There's a community feel to the sport of, again, soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. And it's affordable, and it's easily accessible. And the show component of it, there really is no show because the show is what's on the field. If anything, it's the supporters that create the show. They're the ones that put the show on, whether it be the flares or the chants that they do. That's where the entertainment value of the game comes from, is the game in the supporter section itself. It's everything that's wrapped into the actual 90 minutes that the game is being played. Here in the U.S., they're going to create so many distractions and so many things outside of the game just because, again, they want to play it up as the greatest thing that's ever happened in the history of the sport. I think it's easy to think that we could overcharge this a little bit. It's the World Cup speaks for itself. It's the World Cup, right? It's the most outside of esports in the esports World Cup, which, I mean, crazy the ratings that they get, sometimes more than the World Cup itself. But outside of that, the actual soccer World Cup, football World Cup, FIFA World Cup is the most, again, it speaks for itself. But I fear that we are trying to create something out of it that it isn't. And in a way, it kind of distracts from the actual product itself. It started with expanding the field and adding more teams, teams that, again, that we kind of understand, like they're not going to win a World Cup. But if we bring them in and if we have more games, that means more money for everybody, more money in TV contracts. It means more money in terms of ticket sales and revenue that way. But now we're adding live music and we're adding all these other things on top of the fact that, again, the tickets are just so expensive. The authenticity of the game itself is going to take a real hit in the U.S. when it comes to the World Cup. And I think that's the point he's trying to make. The dollar amount is one thing, but it just, I think, to a lot of people who are used to a certain experience with football, soccer, are not going to get that experience here in the U.S. It's going to look a lot more like the NFL. It's going to look a lot more like the major professional American sports. Like in the NBA, like they play. What's that?
So there'll be too many sidebars. Like, look at the Super
Too
Bowl.
many.
Look at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
There's like
Yep.
music outside the stadium before the game.
Yep.
There's obviously the halftime performance. We look at the commercials. We look at the celebrities on the sidelines. Like, there'll be, or up in the suites, I should say, or the sidelines, whatever. There'll be too much stuff. There'll be too much stuff outside of the game. Like, he's 100% right. That's what American business owners, all that stuff, sports, whatever. Like, they want to maximize the profit that they can. They want to include musical guests. They want to include everything. They want to include all these different promotions. They want to include why do you think there's so many like different nights at the ballpark? Star Wars night, University of Michigan night, MSU night, all that, Oakland night, CMU night. Like, there's so many different promotions going on a daily basis, and we're going to see this all the time, especially in the LAs, the Miamis, the New Yorks. There's going to be so many different celebrities that the camera's going to constantly pan to. There's going to be so much extra stuff. Why do you think they're trying to add a halftime performance for the World Cup final? That's never happened. Sure, they add a musical performance at the beginning of the game, like before the game even starts, before warm-ups. Yeah, that's something a little bit different because that doesn't disrupt the flow of the game. But they're trying to add a longer halftime break to include a musical guest. Like, was it really necessary in the Lions-Vikings game to have Snoop Dogg perform halftime of the Christmas Day game? No. It was really necessary outside of the Thanksgiving games and outside of the Super Bowl. That's how it should be. But are we really trying to add a Beyonce to a Texans halftime show? Are we really trying to add all that? No. It's just to maximize a profit. That's all it is, and it's gonna 100% be a show. We're gonna see dogs running around doing tricks. We're gonna see it all the time. Every single game, we're gonna see it.
And people are like, "Well, you don't think FIFA's going to make their money?" I know FIFA's going to make their money. That's not the question. Like, of course they're going to make their money by hook or by crook. They always make their money, and so I guess they understand that. But that's exactly it, right? You hit the nail on the head, right? It's going to be everything. It's going to be the show around it, and I just think that that's a little bit of a culture shock again to people who understand the culture of what the game is in most places. Every other place, I would argue, around the world outside of right here in the United States, because that's just what the American consumer is, right? You're not the day and age where people passionately loved, and again, you call me the baseball guy all the time, and I can speak to this personally. The day and age where people passionately loved the sport of baseball and genuinely like wanted to go and watch the sport, in a lot of ways, I wouldn't say the game is dead, but consumerism has helped keep baseball afloat for a long time. And the reason being is because we'll tell a bunch of families that, hey, Bluey and Bingo are coming out tonight, and that just so happens to be our most attended game of the year. I mean, we damn near won 100 games. Like, this is a team full of players who, 2017 was probably the most dominant minor league team with the Whitecaps and Tigers have ever had outside of this year. And so that means I'm going to guess anywhere from probably 10 to 15 of those guys we had on our team this year are going to make a major league roster at some point in their career. And that's a wild thing to say about a high A team, but that's the truth. But I can tell you that maybe 20-25% of our audience at the game actually was there because they're like, you know what? this Max Clark guy or this Kevin McGonigal guy or these dudes are going to end up making Detroit someday, and they're going to make a huge impact at the next level. And that's no offense to those players at all. That's just me realizing that, hey, this is just how American consumers are, right? Like, you have to give them something more than just coming out and watching a game. Me, I'm good. I'll just show up and watch the game. I'm good. Leave me alone. I just want to watch, just, let me, eat my whatever and drink my beer. I'm good to go. But I'm not everybody, and so I think, especially with it being in the United States, it's all about the consumer and what else that they can give them. But I think that's problematic because it's not just Americans that are coming out to this. That's where I think they might disconnect with their consumer a little bit, because they're coming at it from the American perspective of all these sidebars, which works at American sporting events. Does that work for Europeans, though, or other people, or Central Americans, or like the other groups and cultures that are coming to the U.S. to watch this? Are they really all that invested in that?
No, they're invested with the game. They want to.
That's
see
what
the
I'm
game.
saying. That's
Like,
what they care about.
Like, there was during the football game, the NFL games that were played overseas, which again I think is the dumbest thing that the NFL could do. I think it's you're taking away.
You don't
a
like
home
it?
game. No, it's the dumbest thing.
Really?
It's the dumbest thing. You're taking away a
I kinda
home game
like
from
it.
the passionate fans. The people that you're taking away a home game. Why do you think, again, what the NFL should do is play all the preseason games overseas. Play every single preseason game overseas. That's what you have to do.
Preseason, I agree. That's what the NBA does. The NBA will play European teams in the preseason. They'll go over and play.
Well, the Grizzlies were just overseas this past week. What I'll say is this is the Europeans are there for just the product on the field. That's what they're there for. In the South, everywhere in the country is there, or not the country, everywhere in the world is there. The Europeans, the South Americans, they're there for the product. They're not there for all the extracurriculars.
Yep.
Americans, it's what the owners want to do. They want to just maximize everything and add all these different promotions for money. And I understand it. And that's what they're there for. The Europeans, what my main point about the NFL was, again, it's the dumbest thing to play an NFL regular season game overseas. It's the stupidest thing. The Europeans, the bartenders at the game, or the concessions people, whatever you want to call it, they were very shocked by the fact that during the game, people who got up during, like, outside of halftime, they were there. People were getting up to go buy more beer. Like, they were very shocked by that. They just thought, oh, it's before the game, halftime, after the game, or halftime and before the game. That's what we're there for to sell.
Yep.
That's what they're very shocked by. And I think that they're going to be very shocked that a lot of fans are going to get up during the game and go buy stuff during the game. But no, it's to the point of the NFL is you're taking away a home game for the passionate fan base that's there. I get it. You're trying to grow the game. 100%. I understand that. But you got to play all your preseason games overseas, and you have to tell the superstars you have to play a drive. You can't sit. You have to play a drive or two. That's what you have to do. You must play a drive because that's what they want to see. When you look at the soccer side, like if I look at a European side, all their preseason games are played overseas. Do they drop in the middle of the season? Does Arsenal Man City decide, dude, let's go play in New York for the regular season game? No, they don't.
Premier League came to Chicago.
Talking about a regular season game, they don't move.
I think was it just a friendly? I can't remember if it was just a friendly.
Nate, they
came to Soldier Field.
They play it. It's all preseason stuff. They don't drop in the middle of the season. Hey, let's go to Chicago and play a regular season Premier League game. Sure, they do a Premier League fan fest for the American fans, but they don't actually move the game to American soil. They just stay.
I guess that's
they
fair.
don't do that.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing for an NFL team. An NBA game, I guess I get it because there's 80.
Because you got 80 some of them. Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit different.
An MLB series is fine because there's 162. I think that's also another reason why they have different promotions nights, because there's so many goddamn baseball games. But so you have to throw in some things so it doesn't get stale.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Unless your team's the Dodgers and there's 13 Hall of Famers on the roster as it is anyway. That's a little bit different. But no, they don't. To my point of the NFL is you can't do that. You just can't do that. And I feel like the American, the NHLs, the MLBs, the NBAs, the NFLs, they're just trying to provide for everyone else except their own, and it makes no goddamn sense. And the Europeans,
Yeah.
South Americans are not going to like what they're going to see going into some games. They're not.
Yeah. The NFL is trying to catch up to the NBA in terms of its international impact, which I think if there's one major American sport that has made the most impact in terms of overseas and growing the popularity of the league itself overseas, I think it's the National Basketball Association.
Yeah, look at everybody
yeah.
loving LeBron. Everybody
Yeah.
loves
Oh,
LeBron.
it has to be.
Like,
Everybody.
I don't know if you've ever
So-
seen, but every time LeBron is in a city to play a basketball game, everybody, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's the local guy trying to sell T-shirts outside the stadium, everything, hotels, everything grows. Like everyone is
Yeah.
actually like, and anytime he's been in a permanent team, whether that's the Cavs, whether that's the Heat, whether that's the Lakers, like they all talk about how much money they make just because LeBron's is in the damn city.
Yeah.
Like how
Yeah.
many international people just come to this game just to watch LeBron? Like and I'm sure.
Or Shohei in LA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just half the crowd is Japanese when he's playing, and I understand it. They want to come, they want to go, they want to watch him play. So I think that's what the NFL is trying to do. They're trying to expand their international reach, which obviously we see that it's still very popular over there, right? Because the place is sold out. Like I told you the other day, it's the funniest thing to look up in the crowd and see like 17 different teams being represented in one place. Because again, they don't really have a connection over here. They're just kind of choosing one. But no, to your point about the regular season stuff, I get that. No, I can 100% relate to that. You don't want to take one away. But then again, you know, can people even afford the tickets over here? I don't know. I feel like it's mostly companies or organizations that are buying up swaths of tickets, and so the rest of it, if you know, once the yuppie brigade is done buying their tickets, it's like $400 to go. So the least expensive Lions game this year was in Los Angeles, California, against the Rams. Like think about that for a second. That was their least expensive ticket.
Yeah, people say like, oh, it's so expensive, people aren't going to want to buy it. Then why is it sold out every single time? Why is every single game packed? Why, like,
well, you got it.
Are we talking for like the second class family of four? Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, you got to. I mean, a lot of those tickets go to like corporate. You know, there's companies, there's businesses that buy up, like I said, certain sections or rows or seats. You know, you're going to get people with certain discounts because of where they work or that they know someone or that they're, I mean, that is real. That is a real thing, you know, and then when you get all the way down to the tickets that we have remaining, that's why they're marked up so much, because they're like, the people are going to be willing to buy it because there's a limited amount of tickets. And there are a lot of passionate people. Again, I'm not that passionate to the point to where I would spend that much money. I would certainly hope that there's just a mutual connection, but there are channels in which those tickets go through, right? But it starts off with, for the Lions as an org, Johnny and Joey are not going to be the ones that move the needle for you as an organization. Getting this company over here that makes that produces X amount of revenue to buy X amount of tickets for the entire season, or season tickets, or whatever it is, those are the people that move the needle. You know, Johnny and Joey are not going to do anything for us as a franchise. You know, even if you know, whatever. So
when the people that complain about, oh, are people even going to be able to afford it? Clearly, people afford it because they go to the damn games. It's
well,
like,
can they afford it, or do they go deep into their pockets and go, ouch, that hurt, but at least I'm going to a Lions game? Like, there's a difference between that.
Like,
I could technically afford the ticket, Ryan, but like, it would hurt like hell. And I think it does hurt like hell for a lot of people.
Why do they still? It's the same crowd that says, well, the NBA is just constantly losing views. Well, then why are their numbers still record breaking in terms of views? Like, there's the NBA is losing views. It's so unwatchable. But why are the views constantly skyrocketing? Why do they constantly how do they get record breaking views?
Changing demographic. Changing demographic.
Like, and if you can't, if you constantly, and the people that constantly go out there and say, well, I can't afford the tickets are so expensive, then why do you keep buying them? The only way that the ticket prices go down is if people stop buying them. Like if the Lions organization is like, damn, no, we lost 20,000 people a game because the tickets are so big. Then they're going to start to lower some tickets a little bit. They're going to start to lower prices. But the moment that they lose, 100 people didn't come to a game, It's really not that big of a deal.
And that's the catch-20, right? That's the dual-edged sword here. Like, we can sit here and complain all we want about, oh, they're so
People are still
expensive.
gonna
Well,
buy them.
if people are still going to go, they're still going to go. I mean, it's like the Lions back in '08, like when they were going 0-16. It's like they need to sell the franchise, they need to do this, blah 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 blah. Well, you're still going to the games. Like, why am I watching a home game right now and it's like 95% full? Like, what are you talking about? They need to do all these things. You still go, you still spend the money. You are keeping them in business. Losing is not bad necessarily for business if people continue to come out and watch the games. So,
Exactly.
like, these are good points by you, and that's why the whole ticket prices thing, like, it's worth mentioning, but you can only say so much, because as long as people continue to buy the tickets, if I watch the World Cup in 26 and every single game is packed out to the brim, what do
Then
we
it
have to
doesn't
say
matter.
about this anymore?
Like,
It doesn't matter, right?
it,
None of this changes.
and the appeal from FIFA and U.S. Soccer, whoever's in charge of this whole damn thing,
Yeah.
they're also thinking to themselves. A lot of people are like, "Wow, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. This happens once every 4 years." Like,
Yep.
that's what they're banking on, and people will 100% buy these tickets. Like, they will spend, like we talked about. You could like, I could afford to buy a Detroit Lions ticket. I could afford to buy 2 of them or 3 of them, but it's gonna hurt. But people are still gonna want to buy it. And you look at the World Cup, a family of 4, or look like a dad is looking at this and might have 2 young kids, whether it's boys or girls, whatever. They're looking at those kids and they're like, well, we might not be able to go on a vacation this year, but how does one World Cup U.S. versus Australia game sound to you guys? Like, that's
Right.
what they're kind of banking
Right.
on. Oh, we're not going to go on a Christmas vacation this year. We're not going to go on a vacation this year or next year. But how does this sound? Like, that's kind of what
Right.
people are weighing here. They're looking at it like, damn, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We kind of have to go on it so that in 20 years, my kids could tell their kids and I could tell my grandkids, wow, we went to a USA game. Here's a couple pictures. Doesn't that look sweet? And then
Yeah.
in 20 years, they're not going to think, wow, we spent $2,000. We spent 10 grand on tickets, hotels, and in some restaurants. Like, I remember my old boss, when I was doing pool renovations, he was talking and he's like, man, like, we spent a little bit more. They would go on a cruise every year, but they would constantly overspend because, like, they're there in the moment. Like, they're there, whether that's casino gambling, whether that's doing all the different adventures on the side. I forgot what they're exactly called, but when you go to a different port, you can do certain different things. I forgot the word and the term for it. But every single time he's like, yeah, I overspent, but it was worth it. Like, it's like, look at these pictures that I have. Like, in the moment, everyone bitches about it. But then in a couple months, no one mentions it or remembers it. They just remember the memories. So people are still going to buy.
Yeah, and you're right, and you're 100% correct. The only issue is, again, those ticket prices continue to get more expensive. People are making less. I don't know what the official number is, but it's close to over 50% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, right? So this is that's the thing about kind of where we're at. So again, I get it, but nothing's going to change. Right. So it almost feels pointless kind of talking about it at a certain stretch. Let's very quickly talk on this last point before we get to hour number 2 in our all sports content. Weston McKennie was actually approached by a couple of EPL clubs. We talked about, we've been focusing a lot on Weston McKennie in our conversations the last, I'd say, week or so. Obviously talking about his uncertainty with his future with Juventus. You mentioned him coming back to Major League Soccer. I don't think that's the case, but approached by a couple of different EPL squads. What do you have for me there, Ryan?
Oh yeah, it didn't list the clubs, but he's probably
No.
been in contact with a couple. Again, a lot of these transfers are going to happen after the World Cup. That's just the way that it works every summer,
Yep.
or whether there's a Euros or not. That's just how it works. So whenever McKennie finds his new team, it'll be after the World Cup. That's when you'll see a lot of these clubs do business. And look, we've seen McKennie in the Premier League with Leeds United. I believe it was a loan when he was with Tyler Adams and all that. He's been in the Prem before. And, I mean, it'd be a really good move for him because I'd like to see him in the Premier League because I watch the Premier League on a week-to-week basis. So it'd be really cool to see one of your own. Yeah, he played 19 games, scored a goal. It wasn't the best of situations. And, look, it's Leeds United. I would like him to move to a club where they're going to be in the Premier League, but they're not going to be fighting relegation. Like, I would look at a club like Brighton. I would really like to see him go to a club like Brighton Hove Albion. I think it'd be a really good fit for him because it's a club that, not necessarily wouldn't be in the relegation battle, but they'd constantly be kind of in the conversation to make one of the Europa League or the Conference League. So I think it'd be fine. But I think Brighton or a team like Crystal Palace would be a good team which, by the way, Crystal Palace will need a new manager next year because Glasser's not returning. But no, I think it'd be a good move. I'd like to see what he does.
Ollie. Alrighty, my man. Well, let's take a quick break here. We'll come back for hour number 2. Man, we got a lot on the all sports portion of this podcast. Talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs and our picks. We'll also cover there's no real reason to play baseball this year. I mean, we can play, but everything's going to be a glorified scrimmage because I think we all kind of know what the result is going to be in Major League Baseball. Some big news coming down the line in that regard. Shout out Ryan for just putting no reason to play baseball this year in our rundown. That cracked me up this morning. That was funny to see. Also, college basketball, point shaving scandal. Over 20 players indicted, or rather charged, not indicted, charged. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. I mean, I feel like gambling is ruining sports in certain ways, but people are making a lot of money, so why stop it? But we'll be right back for hour number 2 here on Inside the Game.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs.
From high-quality production to exceptional coverage,
We ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today
call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast.
and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
Back live here on the National Soccer Network. Inside the Game. You got to look there at Sports Nation TV. If you want to check out our all sports content, it's exactly where you should go to, Sports Nation TV. It's been cool. It's been fun adding another hour to our show. I know for a while there, our first 200, we were just 1 hour of soccer talk every morning, which was great, but it's been nice to add this component to it, and especially now that we're getting to, in my opinion, the most exciting time of the year. Right, because we're getting close to the end, the Super Bowl, if you will. Also, the college football playoff is coming to an end, Indiana and Miami. So we're going to talk a lot about that game, of course, as we continue to get closer and closer. But you got hockey, you got basketball, and also you got thoughts of baseball dancing around in your head coming up. It's not too far off, all right? We're getting there slowly but surely. Everybody's down in Florida now getting ramped up and getting ready to go for everything. But let's quickly talk about NFL playoffs and our predictions coming up. Ryan, we gotta. This has been an interesting playoff so far. A great first round of matchups, really close games. Obviously, Bears-Packers was unbelievable. Bears were able to pull off the comeback and win it, and obviously all the antics afterwards that we were talking about as it pertained to
Weird.
Just weird coming out of Chicago. We got the Pats that are back in the mix now. We got the Texans that'll be playing them, and Bills and Broncos. And that's actually the matchup I would like to start off with talking about. LA and Chicago, and obviously Seattle and San Fran there in the divisional round. Two teams that faced off at the end of the regular season, a rematch not too long after they last played. And obviously the Seahawks got the win in that game. But looking at our predictions for this one, Ryan, I'll start off with Bills and Broncos. What says you in that matchup?
It reminds me of, what was the matchup? I forgot what the matchup was, but it's just like, it's like a young team. Rams Panthers. That's what I was thinking of. It just reminds me of a young team, just kind of breaking in with the Broncos. Like it's just Bo Nix. It's just like a young. He was in the playoffs last year, obviously, but it just. To me, it just feels like it's a young team still trying to find their stride, and you're going up against a veteran group that has been there time and time again in Josh Allen. And I think the Broncos beat the Bills already this year, I believe. But it's just I just still feel like the Broncos just aren't there. Like it just reminds me too much of the Bears. It's like it's a cute story. It's a young team. It's a young quarterback. It's an energetic group. But it just feels like the Bills and their to me, this just feels like the year that the Bills finally get to a Super Bowl. I'm not saying they win it, but it just feels like this is the year because Josh Allen is just on a different level. Like that's just what it feels like. He's just that dude up to this point. No, they did not play each other this year, but no, I just think it's a year where the Bills and Josh Allen, because what's been stopping Josh Allen year after year? The damn Chiefs. They're not there this time.
Yeah.
And the Broncos, again, they're another team like the Bears where they seem to kind of start off slow time and time again, and then they obviously amp things up in the second half and in the fourth quarter. But at some point, you're going to play a really good side, a really good team that plays well for all 60 minutes, and you will dig yourself a hole that you can't get yourself out of. And with that, I think the Bills ultimately go on and win this game, and Josh Allen's been unbelievable. I know he's kind of got to carry the side in terms of the offense and everything. Like, the dude's just a stud. And I don't know why they don't just tush push Josh Allen for every single play. Like, he gets 5 yards of carry. Like, just tush push him all the way down the field.
Well, he's a big dude too, and he can move around. You know, the truth is that obviously they beat him 31-7 last year to bounce him out of the divisional round. But more importantly than that, I mean, the Bills bring the number one pass rush in the league, in the NFL, into this game against the Broncos, which we talked about. They've had kind of a patchwork on again, off again offensive line. But the one thing that they don't do very well is they don't really defend the run. But is Denver capable of putting a consistent run game together, a team that really has leaned pass heavy all year, in order to establish that against the Bills? Because this has to be a grinded out win for Denver. Like, they're not going to just throw the football around and have a field day against that Bills defense. They're simply not, especially with the fact that, you're not going to have more than a second and a half to throw the football against a pass rush like the Bills. And then obviously you add in the Josh Allen thing. I mean, when he's on the field, you always have a chance to win. It does have a team of destiny vibe with the Bills, I feel like, this year, with what we've seen from them at the end of the season, and obviously the way they open the playoffs. I think this is an easy dub for the Bills. My only thing is, again, the Broncos have to try and find something that isn't really their identity, which is running the football, if they want any chance of winning this football game. I just don't know if they're capable of doing that because, again, they've leaned so pass heavy all year long. So I'm going to go with I'm going to go with the Bills probably in this one. I know some other people are really, making different predictions. I'm actually looking at a story or an article right now on ESPN. It looked like everybody actually picked Denver to win this game, which is surprising to me. I think this is yeah, exactly. Yeah. So who did you pick? The Bills?
Did
you pick? You did, I mean, I don't know. Me personally, that's where I'm thinking this game will go. Now, 49ers and Seahawks is an interesting one. I mean, I think this one is a little bit more of a toss-up. I'm thinking Seattle's probably the favorite just off the top of my head. Where do you fall on Seattle and San Fran?
I think the George Kittle injury is going to hurt a little bit more in this game than people expect because I think Brock Purdy, George Kittle is his safety blanket. But, man, this is going to be a really good game. This is going to be a really good game, and I could see it going both ways. And one thing that I like about the 49ers that they kind of do and that they kind of have talked about, not really talked about compared to what the Lions do. Like I'm looking at the Seahawks have so many injuries, or not Seahawks, the Niners, I should say. The Niners have so many injuries on defense and everything, but they don't use that as an excuse. Like the coordinators are so good. Robert Saleh, really good. Kyle Shanahan, again, if you give Kyle Shanahan a top 10 quarterback, this is a damn dynasty. Like that's what it is. Like he's so good offensively. The way that he schemes stuff up, it's so good. But the only thing that's stopping me from saying the Seahawks win this thing is Sam Darnold. Like Sam Darnold in the playoffs and in big moments. Like it's just not great. Like he's come up in big spots like this year in a couple times. Like if I look at San Francisco, he particularly did not have a good game, only 198 yards and scored 13 points. You look at the Rams, that's a little bit of a different story. But I don't know. Like Sam Darnold is the moment if Sam Darnold goes and wins this game, then I will pick them to ultimately win the NFC Championship game next week. But something just tells me he can't get it done. I don't know. It's just something that tells me he struggled both times against San Francisco, but I really like the Seahawks. So I'm conflicted on this one. I'm just going to say the Niners win it. I'm going to say that. So
sometimes
both one seeds lose.
What a journeyman needs sometimes in order to win in big games is a really good defense. And the thing that I think Seattle does really well is they're dynamite at stopping the run.
Yeah, they are.
Mike, I mean that is a stout, and Christian McCaffrey right now he's not the Christian McCaffrey of old. I think the injuries are starting to catch up to him a little bit, and he's just not as efficient of a runner as he used to be. So I think in terms of the physicality, winning the battle up front, I'm going to give it to Seattle. I hear what you say about Sam Darnold. I do think the vengeance component, or the revenge, the second coming, if you will, component of this is interesting, obviously, because he's replaced by JJ after what he did in Minnesota. Now we know how that finished, but there is I'm reading an article right now, and there's a bold prediction on here, and I like this one, all right, because this one didn't affect the University of Michigan, but it would be fun to see now. With Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold dealing with an oblique injury, we get a goal line snap from rookie QB Jaden Milroe on a third and goal from the 2-yard line. He hits a design QB run for a walk-in touchdown, and the Seahawks end up winning it. All right, I'm putting that out there in the atmosphere for good old Jalen Milroe after what happened against Michigan. But I'm gonna go with Seattle in a close one on this matchup. Moving on to,
I was listening to something. My
what's
bad.
that? Oh no, you're good. What do you got?
I would say. Oh God, I'm gonna say it's an under 20-point game. It's gonna be like 17-14, low scoring slugfest.
All right, yeah, it'll be a ball game, a defensive game, I'm sure. Texans and Patriots. What says you?
Texans. I really think it's gonna be upset heavy this week. If I'm looking at this. Like, look at these teams. All these 1s and 2 seeds they're all just like, I feel like they get upset. Like, there's nothing that, I don't think I picked I'm not going to pick a 1 or a 2 seed to win this whole week, because I said the Bills, I said the Niners, I'm going to say the Texans, and I'll ultimately say the Rams here. But, like, looking at the Patriots, they did not play well against the Chargers at all. And the Chargers had no offense simply because they have no offensive line with Justin Herbert, or to protect Justin Herbert, I should say, excuse me. But it's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't believe in the Patriots. I really don't. Like, I think Drake May's fine, but the way that they played against the Chargers really scares me. And I think the Texans, and I thought coming into the playoffs, they're a really scary team. And I know they struggled for a while against the Steelers, but the Steelers have a really good defense. And ultimately, the Steelers will ultimately, in every single playoff game, at least under Mike Tomlin, it's going to be a slugfest. Even though they're supposed to get killed, they still will somehow be in the game, and they're going to make everything ugly. But the Texans are going to get this thing done. I think they win by 10 points. I think C.J. Stroud's fine. I think that defense is really good. But there's nothing that says about the Patriots that I believe in, and I think the Texans ultimately get it done.
And I'm looking forward to the matchup on the outside of Will Anderson Jr. Going up against Will Campbell for the Patriots. And,
that'll be a good matchup.
Yeah, the left side of that off. That's what I'm saying. And so they get the chance to meet up again. The youth on that offensive line, specifically on the left side of that offensive line, is something that I think is worth looking at for the Pats. Averaged 8.6 air yards per attempt, third highest mark in the NFL, but the Texans also have a great secondary. They've really limited a lot of people, and that was something that Mike Vrabel said. It's the best defense that he's seen all year, and so it's going to make things more difficult. Not only do you have, again, a young left side of your offensive line. Now, Will Campbell's great. He's a dog, but he's still, again, just a rookie, and he's had his struggles. So I think maybe that works against the Patriots. I also, again, you just have the chip on your shoulder of being 0-6 all time in these matchups. You've never won one. So this one means a little bit more for the city of Houston and for those fans. And I think with all that, just going with the team of destiny vibe, I'll probably take the Texans, to win this one. And then wrapping up our look at our NFL predictions, we got the Rams and the Bears. I can tell you who I want to see win, but who do you think will win this matchup, Brian Glitzky?
Look, Nate and I are from the state of Michigan, and a lot of people, at least in this state, have a large opinion on this game, especially because you think of everything. You have the Rams' history with the Lions, especially as of recent. You have Matt Stafford, the former Lion quarterback, playing in this one, and then you think of Ben Johnson and that whole fiasco with the Bears. Look, I'm not like most Lions fans at this point. I could care less if Stafford wins another Super Bowl. He's already won one. And I will always say, until the Lions win a Super Bowl, or at least get to a Super Bowl, the Rams will always win the trade. They have a Super Bowl. That's the ultimate deciding factor. And if Stafford wins another one, great. It just reminds me of Justin Verlander more and more as Verlander just wins rings outside of the Tigers, Stafford wins rings outside of the Lions. Like that's just how I feel. And I would rather the Rams win this game over the Bears simply because of a divisional standpoint. And I think the Rams win regardless. And people will say, oh, the weather, it's so cold. They can't get it done. It's outside at Soldier Field. Look, the Rams traveled all the way to Philadelphia in a blizzard last year and almost won the damn thing. So the weather, again, that's just such another cop-out. Unless do you remember the Lions-Eagles game back in like 2013, 2012 in a blizzard where you genuinely couldn't see? Yeah. Unless the weather's like that or we're in a damn monsoon, the weather doesn't play a factor because these are professional athletes, professional football teams.
They've played in cold. They've all played in cold.
Doesn't mean anything when everyone says that. Like the Seahawks won Super Bowls with playing in cold weather. The Packers, the Bucks went into Green Bay in cold weather and beat the Packers in 2020.
The only thing is that cold weather does sometimes you make mistakes in cold weather. Like, not necessarily that the cold is affecting you, but the cold may affect the way you hold the football, trust me, you get hit in cold. I've been hit in cold before. Woo! Boy, it hurts a little bit more than getting hit when it's, 80 degrees out and you're going through two-a-days. Like, that's a different experience. So there are elements to why cold matters, but I agree with what you're saying. Like, just because they're a team that's based out of an area that's warm doesn't mean that it changes everything.
It doesn't matter in this game. That offense is too good. The Bears' defense is Swiss cheese sometimes.
I get it. Trust me. And I'm saying 100%. Anyways, continue. Finish your point.
And the Rams' defense is good. The Rams win this thing. And I did not pick a 2-seed or a 1-seed to win. It's going to be all 5s and 6s.
Like, madness. I think my prediction for this matchup is, listen, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to come down to one last possession in the fourth quarter. And as we watch this game, Lions fans who cherished Matt Stafford during his time here, we're going to look into his eyes and we're going to know what time it is. And he's going to drive the entire length of the field. He's going to surgically dissect the entire Chicago Bears organization and each and every single one of their fans until he finally puts a dagger into him at the very end of that game and he walks off the field and he goes and wins another ring. And that's how it's going to play out. So I'm sorry to Chicago fans who are watching our show. I hope you enjoyed your run. I hope you enjoyed the cheese grating after the game and whatever the hell Ben Johnson did during postgame. But it's over. It's over. So I hope you enjoyed it. Those are our NFL predictions. All upsets, man. Did we disagree on a single one of them?
I think you took Seattle and I took the Niners.
Oh, I did take Seattle. You're right. Okay. Are we writing these down, by the way? Is anybody keeping track of any of these?
Here,
I think
I'll
I remember
write it down,
what mine are.
right
but,
here, wherever that
all
pen
right.
went. I don't know.
I don't
Someone
have
took the pen.
anything to give you if you win, but I can give you like $5 or like buy you a coffee someday, or I don't know.
Buy,
Maybe we could
buy
do like
me
a
a coffee
fantasy.
when we live on separate
Yeah,
sides of
there you go.
the state.
Hey, but I'll drive over just to buy you a coffee. I'll drive 2 hours to buy you a coffee and then drive
We'll
drive
do
my
it. We'll
happy
do
ass home.
we'll do a show in person.
There you go. How about that?
We'll do a show in person.
See that? I'm great. I'm great with that.
We
See,
can
doing
have
the remote
JT
thing is
produce
cool.
it for us. You and I will just sit at the
Yeah.
desk over there. JT will produce it for us, and he'll hop in. He'll hop in, I guess, because he'll be able to produce it for us.
Because he's sitting in the room anyways. You know he's gonna have it. He's gonna have a comment. He's gonna have an opinion. We can't talk about something controversial. You know, he's gotta. So I respect it, man. First 200 episodes, JT, big part of that. But anyways, so yeah, write down the matchups.
Here, the pen's
what we
over
got
here.
going
Let me
on.
step aside for a second.
All right, okay, take your time. All right, cool. Now I'm just surmising what his coffee order would be if I do buy him coffee. You think he's like one of those like
I'm sure he's had some good
basic
stuff, Nate.
I'm asking about your coffee order. I was thinking out loud about that.
I don't even really drink coffee, if I'm to be quite honest with you.
Black coffee, no creamer. Like you've been smoking for 30 years.
I get up at 5. I wake up at 5 a.m. Read the newspaper, get my black coffee.
I get up earlier than anybody else. It's like cool, nice.
Again,
like,
I don't understand why old people like to tell everybody what time they wake up at. It makes no damn sense.
I'm not gonna lie, they got a point though. Have you ever woken up at like 4:30 in the morning and then go like driving anywhere? There's no one.
That's true.
It's like nobody exists. It like reminds me of the old COVID days in 2020 when there was like the curfew and like no one was going anywhere anyways because everyone was unemployed. So you're just driving around and you might run into like 2 or 3 other vehicles on the roads, but you're like, this is great. This is a ghost town. Is it where was this? I want more of these. And then we got like a week and a half into it, and I was like, okay, all right, this sucks.
My dad, one of the major roads over here, Hall Road, which is just the best for anyone that lives in Metro Detroit and knows about it. And he would make a game every day because he still had work and everything. And sometimes he would go to the office, and his goal was to make every single light on Hall Road because nobody was out. He tried to make it in one trip every single time. He made it a couple times because
freaking drag racing.
Because he's
That's funny.
He's like, nobody's on the road anyway, and I can make every light. So yeah.
All right, let's take a step aside really quick. When we come back, moving on to our second point, there's really no reason to play baseball this year. We'll get into specifically why that is on the other end here on Inside the Game.
The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back Inside the Game, episode 209, getting deeper into our second hour, talking a little all sports. Just talked about our NFL playoff predictions. believe Ryan is writing them down actively right
I
now,
have
or
it right
has
now.
written all them down. He's got them written down, so we're good to go. So we'll let you know what the punishment is at the end of the playoffs, depending on who wins and loses the picks. But we got to start making opposite picks one of these times because we're picking all the same teams. It's, all right, we got one. All right, that's fair. But moving on to the second thing we got going on here today. I woke up this morning. I looked at our prep sheet the way that I do every morning before we start the show, and I started cracking up about 5 seconds into looking at it because Ryan put something very ominous on the sheet without much explanation afterwards, going, "There's no point to play baseball this year." And I was like, what the heck does that mean? Like, what happened? I literally sleep for 6 hours, and now there's no baseball anywhere ever. And so I ask him what's going on, and he tells me something about the Dodgers. They actually just added another member to the list of their, again, the Avengers. And here's a look at their lineup coming up in 2026. Yep, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Tucker, that they just signed, Will Smith, Muncy, Hernandez, Pages, and Edmund. And they're starting 5, and Edwin Diaz, one of the greatest closers and in the game, and so Ryan, I mentioned this coming into the show, and I do think that there is something to be said about this.
Either. He's just a robot.
No,
too.
he's a robot. By the way, when Tucker's deal becomes official, the Dodgers $2.1 billion in guaranteed salaries owed will be nearly $800 million more than the second team in Major League Baseball in the San Diego Padres and $1.3 billion. The present day value of Tucker's contract will come to around $57 million annually, paid out by the Dodgers. So we were talking about what's the gap between LA and the rest of Major League Baseball?
Massive.
That's it. I told you coming into the show, baseball is the reason why baseball is such a beautiful game. Really, because it is, I feel like, a reflection of life. In order to be successful in baseball, you have to be patient, right? Nothing comes quickly in the sport. There's a reason why you have to climb through so many levels to get to Major League Baseball, because it is a grind to figure out how to hit a baseball successfully, right? If you succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. In life, you're going to fail more than you succeed, right? That's just a given, right? The grind of a baseball season is the grind of life. You got 162 games, dude. Every single day you have to get up and get ready and go to work and do your work, right? Consistency, discipline. There is so many analogies top to bottom when you look at the sport of baseball. You're like, you can compare that to just life in general. Like, that's something that we can all learn from. And another one of those universal truths in the sport of baseball, in life as well, is that the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and you can sit down and damn deal with it. That's just how the world works. And a lot of times the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps, that doesn't work. That's no such thing. I can't just work my way to making $1 billion. I can't do that. I can't just work my way to making even a modicum of what Jeff Bezos makes, because he has more money than what Jesus would have had if he was making $1,000 every day since, he was born. That's just the truth. Okay. And even when we look at baseball, this is even more so becoming the truth, because the Dodgers are willing to spend as much money as they need to in order to be able to cover the luxury tax, because they know they can cover the luxury tax. And they've simply went out and bought each and every single dominant player that they can, and have put together a lineup that if they don't win the World Series, Ryan, this may be the biggest disappointment in the most underperforming team in Major League Baseball history. And I'm not even kidding. That is the standard that the Dodgers have set. And the truth is that on top of that, it's not just acquiring the talent and the amount of money that they're comfortable spending, because, again, they are. And I think it's a little ridiculous that Major League Baseball doesn't have a hard salary cap, and maybe that's a separate point that we can get into, because you're just simply burying small market teams. There are simply teams and organizations and franchises that will not compete for large amounts of time unless they somehow hit on their drafting and their developing. Okay, but the other side of the Dodgers experiment is they are great at developing too. So they have all of the best pieces and assets to sell to other teams in order to get talented players. But their pockets are deep. They've taken over the sport. They spend far more than anybody else. And for some reason, everyone's okay with it. Everyone's okay with that, with them just spending $800 million more than even the second highest payroll, or the amount that they're going to owe in the San Diego Padres, which I also find hilarious that they're a Southern California team and that those two are rivals, only separated by 2 hours. But the two Cali teams are the ones that combine for over $3 billion in the amount that they're going to owe. That's the reality, man. I mean, and I think it's ridiculous. I think the Major League Baseball should have a hard salary cap. I don't understand why they wouldn't. I don't understand why we've been okay with this for as long as we have. But this has always been the universal truth. They're the new evil empire. It's not the Yankees anymore. It's the Dodgers. The Dodgers are to my generation and your generation what the Yankees were to your grandfather and your great-grandfather. Same thing with me. It was the Yankees back in the day, and they did the same exact stuff. So I'm also saying that this isn't anything new, right? This has been a universal thing, but it just continues to get more ridiculous with every new player LA gets.
Yeah, and it's only going to continue to get more and more. And like, look, that some of their, because they could also trade for players at the deadline and just use prospects. And like for instance, because what the Tigers trade was Trey Sweeney and Lorenzo for Jack Flaherty.
Tyrone Lorenzo. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Lorenzo's pretty good, at least in terms of the prospect. Like Trey Sweeney sucks. But that's not the point. And since we also have a soccer aspect to our podcast, Bully, who owns the Dodgers, also owns Chelsea. And if you want to, since he's taken over since 2022, he has spent $1.6 billion on players. So he spends over $1.5 billion on the soccer team, and he also spends over $1 billion you said $2 billion, right? $2 billion.
Yeah.
$2 billion on his baseball team. God dang.
Well, close to $2 billion, not quite $2 billion, but I think
over.
it's 1 point. Yeah, it's over.
Oh,
yeah,
over
it's over $1.5.
So,
$1.5 billion. Yeah.
So this guy has damn near spent over $3 billion on his teams since 2022, which is just crazy.
But you can't. That's the thing. You can't hold it against him though.
No,
because they can.
He's just doing what he wants. I'm telling you, he's a money launderer at this point. That's all. He's a money launderer.
I don't know how he's able to do it. I mean, maybe, I don't know, blind faith. The part that is crazy to me, though, is that, again, he's not doing anything wrong.
No, he's not.
He's just taking advantage of a system that's there, right? Major League Baseball goes, hey, if you go over this X amount of money, you're going to get a slap on the wrist, right? You're going to get taxed on every additional dollar that you spend above a certain limit. And LA just goes, okay, we have it. Like we fine. So yeah, no, it's ridiculous, man. Like I said, anything short of a World Series title for this team is a disappointment.
Like I would say before we get into the system conversation, because I'm sure you have an opinion, I have an opinion on the system. Back to the thing of there's nothing wrong. He's doing nothing wrong. He's doing what a lot of billionaires would like to do, and there's an Avengers roster right now. To your point of the only thing stopping this team, and to your point of anything other than a World Series is a failure, outside of, I think, barring injury, I think this team wins the World Series, no question, and without a doubt, unless all of a sudden some team like creates like these prospects that they influx with some youth into a team, and all of a sudden they become the Avengers at a young age, which is crazy to even think if that even happens. I think the only team that could really rival them is the Padres and the Blue Jays. Is that really it? Because the Tigers ain't doing a thing, and they got the best. Like, honestly, if for the sake of baseball, the Tigers should just trade Tarek Skubal to the Padres or the Blue Jays. Like, to even just try to stop the Dodgers from winning it all. Like, that's really about it. And but no, there's nothing stopping the Dodgers of winning another World Series. And obviously, we can talk about the repercussions and the system, but he is just exploiting. Like, everyone talked about the Patriots cheating all the time and this and that. And to some extent, yeah, they did cheat. But a lot of things, there's a lot of rule changes after the Patriots because Bill Belichick walked a really fine line and exploited rules, and that's all the Dodgers are doing. They're exploiting rules. They're like, even look at Chelsea's contracts. Everything is getting back pay because they want to focus on the here and now. They're like, we'll just focus on it later.
Yep.
Obviously, at some point, it's going to nip them in the butt. But for right now,
Mm-hmm.
here in 2026, on January 16th, 2026, nothing's hurting them. So he's just acting the way a billionaire is supposed to act, and he's spending money on things that are helping himself. So I really can't hate it. But obviously, we could talk about the system and the repercussions after the fact, because a lot of people are thinking a lockout is on the way, and a lot of these owners are going to want a salary cap at this point.
Coming up next, let's talk about the point shaving scandal. We'll take a quick break here on Inside the Game. Welcome back in. Final segment here on Inside the Game. Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky. Ryan, wild stretch of time, specifically in college basketball. Just this story breaking the other day, over 20 players charged in a betting scandal in college basketball. And I know that you were reading up on this a little bit this morning and exactly what happened in this situation. And we predicted this. I forecasted this. And then more of this is going to happen. More of this is going to continue to happen just because of where the culture is right now in college basketball. And obviously we just betting and gambling in general. These companies are kind of taking over the sports scene. But kind of give us a lowdown on exactly what it is that you came away with and what the situation is looking like currently.
It's just, I'm sure the mob is running things. We just don't know for sure, but we just think that the mob is running things. But no, 26 players, 27 players. Some people have said 39s. Whatever the number is, it's a good chunk of players in college basketball that are trying to say that, or trying to point shave. And if you look at it, it's a lot of players from schools that aren't your traditional players, or from your traditional schools like the Dukes, the UNCs, the Michigan States, the Michigan. So it's not really necessarily Power 4 schools, but if there are some players, they're from like the lower end of Power 4 schools. And I'm sure all it is they're players that aren't making a ton of money. They're not making millions in NIL money like we see Cal State, Bakersfield. We're seeing a lot of MAC schools, which, funny enough, last year I was doing a radio call for CMU Eastern Michigan men's basketball, and it just happened to be a couple days before the game. A couple Eastern Michigan players were suspended for suspicious point shaving and all that fun stuff. So obviously they didn't play. So, it kind of made the prep sheet a little bit easier, I guess, because I didn't have to cover so many players and know anything about. But you look at some of these teams involved: Abilene Christian, Alabama State, Butler, DePaul, Duquesne, East Carolina. And an ad just popped up as I was trying to read it. FAU, Fordham, Kennesaw State, Kent State, LaSalle, McNeese State, Nichols State, Ohio University down in Athens, St. Louis, St. John's, which, to be fair, we kind of expected St. John's at this point. They got Rick Pitino, the Godfather, over there, so it's expected. Buffalo and Tulane and Western Michigan, which we talked about yesterday. But some of these players were making $10,000 to $30,000 a game. So And the thing is we're talking about it a little bit pre-show was Boston College back in the day with Henry Hill, which again, that guy is just a rat everywhere he goes. But Henry Hill just like talked about how players on Boston College, like his group of mobsters or whatever, talked about point shaving for Boston College. And when you start to look at things, it's a little bit alarming. And when you start to look at some of these highlights of players just throwing away games with some of these turnovers, it makes sense. And it's just sad to see because at the end of the day, you would like to see players. You'd rather see wins happen organically. No outside influence trying to happen. No players trying to be influenced. No sign stealing, anything like that. But you just wish it would happen authentically. And my biggest takeaway from all of this is the mob. That's my biggest takeaway from all of this. The mob infiltrating the smaller schools and hurting the small programs.
I think sometimes when we look at certain things that are legalized, we're like, it's legalized because it's good for you. It's okay to do it, right? Not necessarily. Not with all things, right? You could talk about, certain controlled substances that are legalized. They're not legalized because you should be doing it all the time. They're legalized because maybe there's a medicinal benefit for it. Certain things are legalized because they, for one reason or another, but it doesn't mean that it just gives you the green light to do terrible things with it. When this was green lighted and when sports gambling was starting to really make its mark in the United States, right after like it was pretty much illegal everywhere, and for these reasons, right, people were fixing matches, people were doing things. And by the way, I just want to let everybody know, even if it's legal or illegal, people are still going to find a way to do these things. Like if it has to go underground, it'll go underground. Like you're not going to completely get rid of it. So, but when you legalize it, right, and it's out in the open, now that completely changes things because you've created a culture of sports gambling that is different than, if it's not legal, then then a lot less people are going to be willing to go to that extent. But, I've always said this, like the universal truth is that the house always wins, right? So these companies realize how attractive it is to gamble on sports because it's a thrill. And so they're going to give you free this or this amount of money or this amount of credits or this amount of tries, and you can bet on everything. I mean, literally everything. And a lot of people just find that attractive because they love watching sports and they love being involved and they love making money. But when you promote it and push it the way that they are, you are creating, shamelessly, by the way, addicts of gambling. You are creating a culture in which, and a lot of for these college players too, is that you see your counterparts making money, right? You see your counterparts making as much as they are, whether that be at a bigger school or whether that be the guy next to you. Like, of course you're going to try and find some way around it. Of course you're going to try and find some conniving way to make your money. Because the other question is, how much does a degree actually mean nowadays, especially for some of these guys?
Not much.
You either are financially set up from sports in college, or it's the same experience it used to be where it's like, yeah, we'll pay for your school and your degree, but after that, good luck. And you're going to dedicate all your time while you're here to playing the sports, and you're not going to have the chance to make money or build credit or put in anything in your bank account. And so, again, I understand why they would do it, but I just think the culture of betting and gambling is exacerbating this far more than at one point in time when it was like, this is illegal and this is not okay, regardless.
I just, to you saying about the person next to you making more money, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but a lot of Ole Miss guys are hitting the portal because Pete Golding, the head coach now, obviously at Ole Miss, it was leaked about how much each player was making, and some people were upset that new guy coming in was making more money than me. So like a lot of some good players are hitting the portal. So sorry, I just a little side note there. I thought that was a little interesting yesterday.
Wow.
Ole Miss will be in the dirt here soon because they ain't gonna have a roster.
Man. So sad. Oh my God.
But they're not gonna have a roster up to this point, and a lot of key players are gone, and Trinidad might not even be coming back because the NCAA won't allow it. But anyway, to your point of betting, like. Again, I'm not going to say I'm a betting addict. Like, I don't bet a ton. I've bet a little. I usually bet when I go to a game, Like I always throw a little like $10-15 when I go to a game. Like there's nothing a really big deal. But I also don't have I don't look at a football game and I'm like, dude, I gotta bet something. I gotta bet something here. Like some of my friends, like our group chat, there's always like a bet every single day. Like some people send in the same, like they send a screenshot of their bet coming in or whatever. Like I get it, like it's cool, like people want to spend some money on it, but at the same time, I heard I forgot whatever financial podcast it was. Like I just saw a clip of it on Twitter. Like it is ruining a young, like my generation, I guess you could say. It is ruining my generation in terms of money. Like they are losing money at a crazy rate every single day because they just want to bet money. They want to bet. And we talked about it when it's thrown down your throat. Like, sorry, when you're watching your favorite local pro team, like the Detroit Pistons or the Detroit Red Wings, for example, yesterday, it's on a damn betting network. It's FanDuel Sports Network. Like, and every single pregame show, it's bet of the day, parlay of the game. Like, that's just what's gonna happen. And even
Sports,
and again, I don't look at that stuff, but like, just like obviously it's in my face every single day, just looking at it, and same game parlay, profit boost, all this fun stuff, and yeah, it's gonna happen. And when you're an outside influence, again, we're just gonna assume the mob is a part of this. We're just gonna assume we don't know any facts about that, but we're just gonna assume the mob based off history. We're just gonna look off history. We're gonna assume the mob's a part of it. But when you look at it, it's just when you can look at the smaller fish per se of going to these other schools, these smaller schools, it can make an influence, and it's just sad to see, especially a game that you want to see influenced the right way, and games, the results of games done the right way when in reality it's not. But we looked at we saw Chauncey Billups, we saw a player this past year or a couple months ago, all these different influences. So this is this is something that's going to happen every couple months. We're going to see so and so in this league or so and so in professional college. It's going to happen every single time, every couple months, at least once a season. So it's a little sad.
Sports betting has become what it is in the United States for one reason and one reason only. There's a lot of people making a lot of money, and the house always wins.
Yeah.
And they don't care what impact they make on young kids. They don't care what impact they make on young people. They're going to shove it in your face because they realize at the end of the day, the people who want to achieve the bottom line at these betting companies or anybody who works with them is going to get to that bottom line, because 22, 21, 20-year-olds are going to be spending their money all day, every day on sports, thinking that they're going to hit it big, because that's how gambling addiction works, right? The next one that I do, the next bet that I place is going to be the one that I hit on and I become a millionaire. This is how this works.
Yeah.
Okay. And that also extends to student athletes. It also extends to everybody else. If you have a direct line to the game, like this is why, like me in the position that we're in, we can't gamble. Like it is something that I cannot do, because again, I have insider information. It's very easy for someone who is on the inside or someone who is playing a sport or whatever it is to have that insider information. And now we're talking about how many different players, how many different matchups that have been tainted that now you have to go back and look at and change and scrutinize and investigate. Yeah, again, this is just the beginning of all this. We saw the issue with the refs in Turkey. Now we're seeing the college basketball players here in the United States. It is one after another, and it's only going to continue to get worse. And again, there's a lot of people making a lot of money. And if you want a sports bet, go ahead and do it. If you want to place $20 on who's going to win the coin toss tonight, if you can afford $20 and you can realize that that's not something you can do every single Sunday for every single game, and you have the ability to control yourself and you're a consenting adult, then yeah, by all means, go ahead and do it. But there is an underbelly to what the sports gambling scene is in the United States right now, and that underbelly is addiction, and you can't run from that.
I forgot how, like, there's some cool prop bets in the Super Bowl. Like, I've never bet them personally, but I like the over under for the national anthem. That what color is the Gatorade for everything? Like, how many times is this mentioned? You said the coin toss. Like, how long is the halftime performance going to be? Like, there's some interesting prop bets. I've never bet on it personally, but it's just a little funny sometimes when you see some of those prop bets, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I was even watching the other day someone who was there's certain platforms you can bet literally on anything, and
Yeah.
he was betting on a what was it? I think a political debate, like that a certain word was going to be said at a certain time, like in the first 10 minutes of the debate. Will the word I think it was like Iran or something. Like, will that word be said? Like, you make a certain amount. It's dumb. You can literally bet on everything now. So, anyways, just wanted to talk about that. It's crazy. Like, and like you said, it's only going to get worse, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to get any better.
Well,
but we'll update people on everything that's going on.
Well,
But
also, like, just scrolling through TikTok, I've seen a couple of, best bets of the day, and it's not even like a betting company. It's just, some random kids just got in front of a microphone, got in front of a phone, and just play some stuff on TikTok, and people like that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not even the corporations. Even it sometimes it's just little, like, you and I could make, if we're being honest, you and I could make a betting thing every single day, post it, and people would like it and want to view it. But
do y'all want to see us do betting odds on the show?
Sure,
Is that
we'll do
something that we? Yeah. Okay. All right.
We'll clip it. We'll ask the people in the world. We'll clip it. We'll post it for you guys. But no, it's
the only people you should listen to place your bets inside the game, the podcast.
Exactly. And another thing that I didn't even mention is before, like, literally in every single game, there's always a live betting odds. Like you could bet this right now, so and so to score this many goals, or this guy to have so many points. So it's just
right.
It's just sad in terms of that. I feel like there should be a limit, but I guess when the elite are making all the money, I guess there's really nothing to stop it. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
People are gonna. And the funniest part about all of it, about all this whole betting thing is when you have a problem gambling, you call this number. Like, it's always sped through, or because I think every betting place has to throw it up there. Like, every graphic, it'll say this, and this.
Yeah.
And that,
it's like nicotine products. Like, you have to tell people it causes cancer. Like, that is something you legally have to do. But, like,
But it's like,
anyways.
there's no like, I bet you there's no like rhyme or like, there's no law or rule saying like you have to have it this font. They just throw right at the bottom. Make sure that you could technically read it if you wanted to. But yeah, that's just another funny part about all of this.
Yep. And you're right. And so, and like I said, I'm not going to tear people down that like sports betting. Like,
No.
if I know people that do it, but do it reasonably, realize that, hey, I got, X amount of extra income or whatever the case may be, but I'm not going beyond that, but you go to a casino once, and just look around. What do you see? I guarantee you'll see someone that's been sitting at the same machine for 2-3 hours, just trying, or the guy who's throwing an insane amount of money down. Like, trust me, he's doing that because, again, it's this thing that it clicks in your mind. When you hit once, you always think the next one is going to be even bigger, and like, I had a buddy that I worked with once upon a time that he literally, for a stretch of, I think 2-3 months, he paid his rent with sports betting.
Wow.
Like,
that's addictive then. If you're making that much
but,
money. Wow.
Streak of good luck, but it didn't last. It certainly came to a certain point where he's like, yeah, I can't do that anymore. It's not a sustainable model. But could you imagine if he had like an addictive personality, or he was someone who wasn't able to separate, hey, this is a good stretch. I went through a couple of months of having this really good luck with sports gambling, but now I've emerged out of the other side. I can't do that. But someone who has an addictive personality, they'd be like, I'm just going to continue doing it. And then that only gets worse and worse and worse. Again, I'm nothing against people that like to gamble. For me personally, I've always been a little bit more guarded with my money, but also I think sports are so unpredictable too that it's tough to actually make a lot of money on it. But anyways, moving on. What's our question of the day today for episode 209?
Question of the day. It's an interesting one. I might have to explain it a little bit more. Just because I feel like you're gonna have a couple questions on it. But before we get there, of course, Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off that #1 smell-proof cleat bag that 100% works. You scan that QR code on your screen, or visit saltathletic.com today. But question of the day. If you could take one American athlete, we'll say current, again, could be any single sport, to switch to play the game of soccer. I'm talking like in their youth. Like they don't go to college to play the sport. They don't play pro. They just simply, at the age of 10 or so, I'm going to play, or 8, I'm going to play soccer. I'm going to become one of the best at it. And they just don't play football, basketball, hockey, or baseball. Which one would it be? And they're going to become elite at it because whatever they do in their sport currently, they do that in the game of soccer.
So when I think about what athletes would make the best soccer players, probably not a football player, I'm guessing. Football is a lot more about like explosiveness, maybe like shiftiness is important, I'd say, for wideouts and maybe defensive backs, but outside of that, it's explosive over a short period. Hockey, no, I'm assuming they're not as great on the ground. They're better on skates. Baseball, probably not. I think of the NBA. And the reason why I think of the NBA is because these guys are so shifty. They change directions so quickly. They can, with a man in front of them, I mean, just one step, and they're by you. It's literally, you watch the game from up close, and you're like, how are you supposed to legally guard these human beings? Like, they're aliens, the way that they move. Now, mind you, I think there is such a thing as too tall for soccer. I don't know. I mean, maybe not. There's certain guys who I'm sure have been exceptions to that rule, but I don't know too many 6'11" dudes that are out playing soccer. He's probably a little too gangly to be able to control the ball and do all those other things. But if there's one person that I think, and I've always said this, I mean, why not LeBron? Like, and I'm talking prime time LeBron. I'm talking like Cavaliers LeBron James, right? First of all, shiftiest dude of all time. You change directions. Yeah, but he's a brick, though. It's a little bit if you're 6'9" and you're a string bean, but if you're a brick, I mean, like, I don't know. You tell me, Ryan. Does size matter in soccer? Does it really matter that much more?
Well, you look at the best player of all time. He's small. He's smaller than me. He's like 5'6".
True. I mean, it's more about skill. That's the thing.
Depend. So if you're looking at a defender, yes, I think it does. If you're looking at a center back, you're looking at a goalie, yes. Midfielder, if you're looking at a CDM, yes. Striker, yeah.
What about winning 50-50 balls, like headers and stuff? I mean, if you're up top, I mean,
it depends to an extent. I think it does.
But I mean, someone has to put the ball in the right place, so I guess it only matters if you have, a good setup person around you. But
like,
no,
Ronaldo's
I think
6'2". That's
okay.
pretty big. I would say yes to an extent. I would say it does matter
because you can teach a basketball player the endurance side of things. Like, that would be the biggest adjustment if you're going from basketball to soccer, because you can fit an entire basketball court inside of like a regulation professional field. You can fit an entire court inside of what the goalie's box is, I think. Unlike a FIFA, like for like the World Cup, the fields that they'll be playing on, I think you can fit the whole thing inside of it. So like the amount of room and the endurance and the length in which you're running in soccer is far different. Like your heart has to be in a different spot than what it is maybe playing in the National Basketball Association. So to that degree, you can teach him that. But what you can't teach him is the intangibles, right? Which is size, if it ends up playing a role. Skill, which is something that obviously he has. And again, if he dedicated his whole life to playing the sport of soccer and not playing the sport of basketball, my guess is he would have figured out how to be pretty skilled with the ball on his foot. That's just my prediction. But it's just the size thing that always makes me go, simply because, again, 6'9", how can you act good? Can you actually be with your feet? But again, this is LeBron James. He's like, in terms of being able to be as skilled as he is at his size, I mean, he's the best since Magic at the size that he's at. So
I'm going the running back position. I got 3 in mind right now. I got Jahmyr Gibbs, I got Saquon Barkley, I got CMC. Jahmyr Gibbs is out.
Saquon would?
Yeah, look at him. He's so explosive, so quick, so fast.
I think it would probably only last like 20 minutes out there, though.
Well, you could teach the person. He's
a big dog.
You could just,
okay, all right.
Well, obviously they wouldn't be as big. They wouldn't be the size they are.
True. I keep thinking like right now. Okay, we're going back to like childhood here.
That's what I said.
They're starting off. All right. Okay. All right.
Childhood,
I remember.
Instead of them playing that sport, they pick up soccer. I'm thinking. So Gibbs, I think, is a little small, 5'9". I'm looking at, I honestly would go Christian McCaffrey. I think he's 5'11". He's explosive. He's shifty. And I think he's a smart football player. He's a really smart football player, and the smarts then carry over to the soccer field. I think this guy would boss the midfield. I think he would. I think he would dominate as a number 10. I think he would dominate out wide as well. But I think he would really dominate as a center attacking mid. What's Pulisic's height? I don't think he's that tall.
And to your point, something else that I think is interesting about.
So you can put him out wide. You could put him at a 10. I think Christian McCaffrey's my guy. I was gonna go Jahmyr Gibbs because of his quickness, but again, I view Jahmyr Gibbs as a winger / outside back. But I'm talking who can make an impact, and someone in the midfield can make an impact. I think Christian McCaffrey is a number 10. Woo! Christian McCaffrey would dominate.
And the other thing about running backs too is they see everything that's around them. Like field vision is so important for running backs whenever they get the ball, obviously. So, he's going to be able to read and anticipate and sense where pressure is coming from. And again, all this assuming that, that they have the skills with the ball on their foot. But no, that's an interesting point about running backs. I would certainly see something like that. I'm thinking like a speed back or an agility back, someone that's known for their, DJ Turpin. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, would be great in that role too. But I think McCaffrey too. Maybe the McCaffrey before all the injuries, I would certainly put in there. Not that he's not still producing, but no, definitely. No, I can definitely see that. But different sports, different skill sets. But I guess we'll never know. They also hate this conversation. Talk about all the Europeans that leaving bad comments on YouTube. Yeah. They also hate this talk. They're like, you Americans and all your hypotheticals. I'm like, it's a fun talk to have. Nothing more than that. But anyways, this has been episode 209 of Inside the Game. I'm Nate Wangler. That's Ryan Glinsky.
Great week.
The drill. You know the drill. National Soccer Network, wherever you find us on social media. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. And again, catch us Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. And until we talk to you guys on Monday. So long, everybody.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.